All right, next page is where we're going to qualify these folks. All right, here's where we're at. We got a house under control. The seller has told us, okay, see what you can find in the way of buyers now. I'm out, or I'm going to be out in the next few days, or I'll get out a few days after you put somebody in, which is a good point. Some of them you're going to get vacant. Some of them they are not going to move till you find that tenant buyer. And we've had all of the above. And the ones that are going to stay in the house, we let them show the house, don't we, Scott?
Yeah, we coordinate that up front.
Huh?
We coordinate that up front.
Yeah. Who better to show the house than the people living in it? We just tell them, don't discuss dollars with the people who come see the house. Anything else, tell them what they need to know. And tell us when they've arrived. Now, we got to call them. We make an appointment, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Scott?
Yes.
And then we call the seller and tell them that we're sending them over at 4 o'clock or whatever, and to go ahead and show it and let us know if they showed up, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, then somebody follows up with them to see if that they, after they've gone there, and finds out what their interest is.
We've done 2 of them where they've been over an hour away. The only time we ever saw the house was when we signed it up. The seller did the rest, and we closed at the lawyer's office and got a check from it.
Uh-huh. So, I mean, I remember Scott, we live in Mandarin, some south side of Jacksonville, and Scott came in one day with these houses in his house in Fernandina Beach, which is, gee whiz, you need a GPS to get up there. It's way up on the north side. Probably, I don't know, 50 miles from my house. I don't know how far it is, but it's a long ways. And I told him, I said, man, that's too far away, don't go up there. But he went. Okay, he got under contract. And it wasn't long before somebody came in, and that was the house we got 10 grand out of, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep, good thing he didn't do what I told him to do. But never went back, did you?
No.
Went up there one time, saw the house, got it under contract, never went back. Just sent buyers up there, seller showed house. And we got another one up there now, don't we?
Yep.
All right, so that makes a case for you guys. See, don't get hung up on your one little area you want to work in. Yes, somebody does need to go to the house and see it just for the heck of it, but only one time, and from that point on, send buyers to it. If it's vacant, you're going to put a lockbox on it that you're going to get at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they're going to be able to walk through when you give them the code. If it's not vacant, just call the sellers and tell them they're coming. You never need to go back. So you can cover a big, vast area. In fact, if I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, could I sell houses in Dallas, Texas this way? I know a couple that used to live in Pennsylvania are kind of doing that. Of course, they do have boots on the ground up there. All right, qualifying them. Now, I can tell you real simply and easily that our qualifying process is a whole heap easier than any lending institutions. First, I want to know their income. And, well, first I want to know how much money they got, of course, but if they pass that test, and most don't, you're going to get a lot of applications that have way less money than you're willing to accept. So let's talk about that. How much are you willing to accept? Well, frankly, that's a personal decision on your part. But I'm going to give you a little bit of warning on this one. Guys, if you put somebody in a house and you don't get enough upfront deposit from them, all you're doing is creating a future problem that you have to take care of when it arises. If you're putting somebody in a $200,000 house and they're giving you a month's rent and $1,000, they shouldn't be moving into a $200,000 house. And you shouldn't be letting them in there. Because it's absolute, certain default. The more money you get out of them, the less you are concerned about what they do or don't do. And just remember, that upfront non-refundable option deposit is your paycheck. That's how you're getting paid. So if you take first one that comes along, because they say they want the house, and because you're in a hurry, all you're doing is creating your own minefield, and it's going to blow up and take your legs off. I would rather have a vacant house than put somebody in it that I know should not be in the house. And how do you think I learned this? I can't tell you how many years it took me to figure out to be a little bit more selective about who I put in, and then I don't have all that crap on the back end. I hear these horror stories all the time about these tenants and these landlord-tenant issues. And I can tell you right now, I don't even need to hear past the first sentence, and I know who's at fault. And it's not the tenant. It's the landlord, because they haven't taken time to learn their craft. This is a business like any other business. And the only security you got against default is the size of that deposit. And even then, that's not security, but I promise you this, the bigger the deposit, the less they default. And the smaller the deposit, the more they default. I sold 32 houses in the early 80s with nothing down. 32 of them. Guess how many of them I got back? 32 of them. Every single one of them came back. Half of them never even made the first payment. And that, my friends, is why we have the housing crisis we have right now. People were buying houses that had no business buying houses. Common sense would say they have no business buying houses, but there was no common sense in the marketplace, only greed. And we are right back where we were then with the programs where we're putting people in houses with nothing down or very little down. So we're going to fix this problem. Let's start over and do it again. And it's going to continue in a cyclical format. As long as you put people in houses that cannot afford those houses, we're always going to have a mess to clean up a few years after all these programs hit the market. But on the other hand, from the other side of that, it stimulates the economy, it puts people in the houses, it gets money flowing, it has its benefits, but not without the downside. Anyway, I'm going to check the down payment first. If they got enough money, then we'll continue the conversations. If they don't got enough money, there's no reason to talk about all the other stuff. So I was getting at how much. I'm going to tell you the minimum you ought to take on a deposit is 3% of the sales price. That's the minimum on a lease option. And I can tell you, you can get more. And if you can't get more, it's because you're in a war zone. If you can't get more, it's because you're in a crappy area nobody wants to live in that's got any money. Get out of the crappy areas and you'll get larger deposits. If you are going to work in the crappy areas, you're going to get that which you sow. Go to bed with dogs, you get up with fleas. You can write that one down if you want. If you get nice houses in nice neighborhoods, you're going to get people who can come in with big chunks of money. And the very simplicity, the higher price those houses get, the more those big chunks of money are. That's just the nature of the beast. So you get to decide where you want to market. Market in the nice houses. The kind you can brag about when your friends and relatives come to town and you take them for a ride and you say, hey, I own that one, I own that one, I own that one. Yeah. All right, income. A good rule to follow is that their fixed monthly payments plus the new house payment you're putting them into should not equal more than 50% of their gross revenue for the family. Your lending institutions will not let it exceed 43%. I'm okay with it being 50%. But yes, your fixed monthly payments, such as car payments, furniture payments, whatever, fixed. For example, utilities and insurance are not considered a fixed monthly payment. But any installment payment that they're making is. Student loan is a fixed monthly payment. Take all those fixed monthly payments and add them up. Now add the new proposed house payment to it, or rent to it, and that total should not exceed more than 50% of the total gross income for the family. meaning 2 working people, you get to count all the income. And then the luxury that you have that you don't have with bank qualifications are that you get to bend the rules a little bit. For example, they're not going to get a loan unless they have provable income. However, do some people make money where they can't exactly prove it to satisfy the lender? Yes? I mean legal now. Okay. People do all kinds of cool things on the side. Look, if they can prove to me that they actually make this money, then I'm going to factor it in. But I'll tell you for sure that when you get past 50% income to debt ratio, all you're doing is setting them up for failure. Because remember, first income taxes come out of that gross income, and then there's things like entertainment and gasoline and clothing and utilities and cell phone bills and all that other stuff that sucks up one's paycheck. And when you put somebody in a position to where there's no money left over to pay all of that stuff, and now it comes down to it where something's got to give, what do you think the first thing that is going to give is? And that is this great big rent payment that they're not going to make in order to be able to pay their cell phone bill so they don't get it shut off, or to be able to buy groceries. So the best thing you can do is not let them get themselves in that position, even though many people will do it blindly walking in with absolutely no consideration to the real math. They want to get into the house so bad they don't even analyze the numbers. They're just hoping for a miracle. Maybe I'll start making more money. Right, okay? And maybe you won't. And then maybe we'll have this problem later. I don't care if somebody's coming at me and they got $10,000 to put down. It's clearly obvious to me they can't afford that monthly payment. I am not going to put them in the house. And I suggest you to adopt the same philosophy. Now, if I'm doing an axe deal, I'm going to use the exact same screening process. If I wouldn't put them in my house, I'm not putting them in their house. And neither should you, because now you are just setting them up for a problem later. So 50% debt ratio, no more. No more. And plenty of money down. And then have their criminal record checked. Come on, guys, it costs pennies. You can go to ats.com or screeningreports.com or a million others. You can go to findtheseller.com. That's our friend Cameron Dunlap's site. He charges, I don't know, 20, 25 bucks for a whole report on them. Probably money well spent. But check their criminal record. Now look, I'm not really all that concerned that they had a problem with the law, but I am concerned if they were an axe murderer, I want to know about it. Huh? Don't you? If they're a serial killer, it'd be best we know. I just want to see what's on there. I can't ever remember turning anybody down because they had some kind of a criminal. Well, on the other hand, what if they were convicted for dealing drugs?
Yes.
How many drug dealers do you know that ever stopped dealing drugs? Well, probably better. How many drug dealers do you know would be a better question, right? If they have been dealing drugs, do you think there's a real good chance that they're going to continue dealing drugs? Yes? And probably out of your house? And do you know that if they get caught dealing drugs out of your house, the government can take your house? Probably not a good thing for you to do is get involved with drug dealers. You also know that from time to time, drug dealers tend to actually kill people? Huh? Or get killed, and do you really want the blood all over your carpet? These decisions you get to make. And if they got a criminal record, you have every right to just say, no, you're too scary for me, all right? But it kind of depends on the crime, doesn't it? All right, now this next one is size of the family. This is common sense. If I got a 3-bedroom, 2 house and I got a family with 8 kids, what's going to happen to this house? Yep, it's going to go through a meat grinder, isn't it? Okay, so am I intentionally putting people in there that are going to destroy my house? And am I setting myself up to have them create a mess? Yeah, so I get to make the decision. Is this too big of a load for this house or not? And the same with pets. You can put people in there, you can put all the pets you want in there, and frankly, I am not against pets. I have plenty of them. I have 3 horses, a dog, 3 cats, and now 24 brand new chickens. And pets, and then other pets that I'm really not sure we even have, but I know they're there somewhere. But I tell you what I don't have any killer dogs, and I'll never have any killer dogs, and I don't want anybody in my house with killer dogs. And regardless of what your feelings are, dogs kill people. Just had Rottweiler kill a little boy here 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's all over the news. Rottweiler, a little boy got out, ran across the street. Now, this wasn't the Rottweiler's fault. Well, it was. The dog did kill the boy, but the Rottweiler was tied to a tree in the home where he lived. And yes, the boy went to the Rottweiler. But just the same, if that would have been a collie, the boy would be alive today, wouldn't he? So, make your own decisions on the dogs, but if I know they got a killer dog, I don't want them in my house. I just don't want them there. And if you're a dog lover and that pisses you off, get over it. I'll send them to you if you let me know you want them. And then the last one is meganslaw.com. You should do a Megan's Law check just to make sure you don't have any registered sex offenders. Because guys, if you have a registered sex offender, is it going to come back and haunt you when the rest of the world finds out about it? They have access to Megan's Law too. And if you put a registered sex offender in your house, there's no doubt you're going to have problems with the neighborhood. Next thing you know, you're going to be on the news. So, make your own decisions. But you should at
Ron,
least
can
do
I
the
add a
things
couple
that
of
are on
those?
that page. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's several other things that we also do to add to your list. One is employment probability. We call the employer, and we make sure that they have employment probability for 12 months.
Oh, okay, employment probability. So you call the employer and say, are you about to fire this guy? What's your chances of being there for 12 months? That's probably a good move.
Yes.
Now,
And
we do check paycheck stubs. And
well, that shows that they are still there, but it
Correct.
doesn't show that the possibility of them staying.
Correct.
The other thing that we also do is past landlord. If the potential tenant buyer has been there for less than 2 years, we'll just use 1. But if they've been there for less than 2 years, we ask for the current landlord and the past landlord.
okay,
And we double check and make sure that they've been good tenants, because especially if we're passing them on as an
right.
X deal.
that's a little bit more than we do. I'll tell you what my biggest pre-screener is, how much of money they got. Because the truth is, if they got thousands of dollars, I know they're going to behave, because they know if they don't, they're going to lose it. That's my biggest protection device. So I'm telling you, I know this is hard for you to get and stomach, but I frankly don't care all that much if I got enough of their money. Because the reality is, if they don't pay their rent, what's going to happen? I'm going to evict their butt and keep their money. And they know it. And it couldn't be more clear. So if they act up on me, it's just going to cost them, that's all. Oh, what if they tear up the house? Well, normally they don't, but if they do, they're paying for it. I'll go lease option it out as is, or I'll go fix something and put somebody else in at a higher price or whatever. But I'm telling you that all these things you lay awake at night worry about just really aren't reality most of the time. But it all comes down to how much commitment do they have in the deal, how much skin they got in the game. Because if they got enough skin in the game, I just am not worried about them anymore.
Hey,
I
Ron,
still don't want child molesters in there. Yeah.
if you happen to let a drug dealer into one of your properties by accident, you want a good way to get rid of them?
What's that?
We send them a letter
Oh,
and let them know that we're notifying all our tenants not to be on the alert or to be worried if they happen to see the local police or the sheriff's department in or around our properties, because we've given them permission to use their new drug-sniffing dog. As on our properties as a training ground.
Yeah,
The best I've done is they got the mail at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by 1 they were out.
that's pretty slimy, but it works.
That's
It's really good in
unnerving.
apartment complexes. Yeah.